Okay. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for coming here right after a lunchtime session. I think this is going to be, in my opinion, certainly one of the more important sessions of the conference. So I'm very happy that you are here. Hopefully, you get to have an important conversation here and you carry that conversation forward with your colleagues. Certainly, the folks that are here are not just here to listen and talk today, but they're listening and talking all the time. So just because people are not here at the moment doesn't actually mean very much. So as I mentioned, what we're going to do here is share a little bit of information about Jakarta EE and its future. It is intended to be discussion-oriented. I'll be moderating the discussion, if you will. So we'll be asking a set of questions both from you, the audience, as well as myself as well. We have a very good representation from the Jakarta EE community here. I think every single vendor except for Red Hat is represented, and I think other folks can fill in the gaps for Red Hat as well. So without further ado, I am going to let the panel introduce themselves. So please, Werner, if you will, if you could get started, please.
Yeah, I'm Werner Keil. I'm an individual committer at Eclipse Foundation, and I'm the committer representative in the Jakarta EE Specification Committee.
Hello, I'm Emily Jiang. I work for IBM. I mainly work on microprofile and also really interested in the progress of Jakarta EE, and also is monitor the mailing list and trying to grasp like what the current state of Jakarta EE movement and etc.
Hello, I'm Andro Mihani. I'm from Paera. I'm Eclipse microprofile committer, and I'm also looking forward to work with Jakarta EE. And in Paera, participating in Jakarta EE is kind of special because now we fully have options or means to participate in a Glassfish project, which wasn't so easy before. So we are looking forward into this open collaboration with all the vendors.
Slava, everyone. I hope that I say hi in Bulgarian. At least I try. My name is Otávio Santana. I'm Brazilian. I'm from Sojavis Group, and also from Tom Tribe, the company who helps with both Jakarta and microprofile.
Okay, I won't even try to say hi in Bulgarian, so just hi in English. So, Dmitry Kornilov, Oracle. I am involved in Jakarta EE. I'm representing Oracle in E4J Program Management Committee. I'm also involved in the steering committee, a little bit in spec committee as well.
Excellent. Thank you very much. So without further ado, what I want to do is spend a little bit, 5 or 10 minutes, giving you a little bit of a broad overview of what Jakarta EE is and why is it that we are even sitting here up here and why you are in the audience. So Jakarta EE is essentially about opening up what the technology that was formerly known as Java EE, or the server-side open standard for Java. There's various reasons why this is, but none of those reasons are actually important. What is important is that many of the vendors represented here, as well as many of the folks in the community, have wanted this to happen. So for this is a very positive development. So what this actually means is the open standards that represent the Java EE APIs were formerly mostly controlled by the JCP process, as well as Oracle and Sun before it. And what we actually wanted in terms of a server-side Java standard is something that is not really controlled in any sense, even the merest, most unimportant sense by any single vendor. So that is really what has happened as of Jakarta EE, and it's really a very important, proud moment. So you made the right decision to come here, and this is something that you should talk to your colleagues and talk to your friends about and understand why this is important. So this is a very seminal moment for enterprise Java because now you truly do have a collaborative open standard that is not controlled by a single entity, because the controlling entity here that defines the process, defines the IP, is the Eclipse Foundation. So this is a non-profit organization, not affiliated with any particular vendor, somewhat arguably how the JCP is like. So that is what Jakarta EE in the end is about. There is a roadmap of how you get there. It's a big statement and probably one of the biggest opening up initiatives in Java's history, I would say. So this takes some time. There's steps that you need to do to get from point A to point B, to get to that nirvana state that we all want to get at. So this is in general a broad overview of the roadmap. Hopefully most of you are familiar with this. So it all starts with Java EE8. Java EE8, as you know, the reference implementation for that is Glassfish 5 or Glassfish 5X releases, so on and so forth. So the objective here is to transform from this technology Java EE to another technology named Jakarta EE, right? So in order for that to happen, there's a number of things that take place in the middle. One of those is the open sourcing of the sources, the code that actually defines and makes Java EE what it is, as well as the specification documents and the TCKs. And we'll talk a little bit about the TCK in a second here. And the TCKs, all of those need to be moved from one place to the other, namely all of the repositories that were under control of Oracle and Sun. All of that work needs to move into repositories that are more public under the Eclipse Foundation. So that constitutes essentially Jakarta EE8, right? So when you are able to do that, and when you're able to say, hey, we've open sourced the reference implementation, and it becomes from Oracle Glassfish to something called Eclipse Glassfish, all of that represents a shift. So now you can actually take that implementation and certify it to say, hey, this is a new thing that has started, and this new thing is called Jakarta EE8. There's still a little bit of debate on this, and we'll discuss this. But basically, mostly Jakarta EE8 and Java EE8, other than the name change, are interchangeable technologies, right? They're virtually the same APIs and the same sets of functionality. Only in Jakarta EE is an Oracle-owned technology versus, Java EE is Oracle-owned technology versus Jakarta EE, which is an open domain technology in the Eclipse Foundation. So once we accomplish that step, and by and large, I think the objective is to accomplish this step by this year, which is, at this point in time, maybe a bit of an aggressive statement. But that's the objective. That's where we want. That's the interim state that we want to get at. And actually, we're there quite a bit of the way, as we'll see in a second. And obviously, after that, that's the foundational building block, right? So then we move forward and define Jakarta EE 8.1 or 8.2 or 9 or whatever it is that may be under a new regime, under a different set of processes of developing those technologies altogether. So where are we with this? I think we're quite in a good state. It would be good to have been up here at this moment and having been able to say that we have Jakarta EE8. This is a real thing. It's not quite there yet, but it's very close. And you can actually monitor the progress yourself, as you can see. The progress is quite good. Not everything is down to that 100% umbrella quite yet, but uniformly everything is very close to that 80% mark, which is, I think, a very, very good statement of all of the hard work. Dimitri, give me 1 second, please, if you will, and we can come back to the slide. And I'll make a point to do that. And as you can see, this is a non-trivial bit of work. This is probably the biggest bit of code donation that has ever happened in the Java ecosystem. So it is nothing to sneeze at whatsoever, where we are in terms of state at the moment. And of course, one of the big pieces of this is the open sourcing of the TCK, the set of tests that certifies to say, hey, you have a certified implementation of this technology. All of that is now open source. And this is just a tremendously significant step, right? If you, for example, compare with the situation that we have with Java SE TCKs and the situation with Apache, this is just a dream right now. The TCK is fully open source. Anyone can take a look at it. Anyone can contribute to it, and that work also has been done at this point. And again, nothing to sneeze at. Quite a bit of work to be done here. There's also a new specification process to go along with this code. There's a process to be defined as well. And that's going to be the Jakarta EE process, right? Equivalent to what we had prior in the JCP process. And that is also, at this moment, by and large, defined as well. So that's very good news, and it's a significant accomplishment on its own right as well. So with that in mind, I am going to pause that's all the overview that I think is necessary for Jakarta EE at the moment. What I'm going to do is actually get back to Dimitri and make sure we address the comment that he was about to make, because I have a suspicion it's an important comment. And then what we're going to do is open up the floor to you to collect questions that you may have, okay? And don't be shy about this, right? So feel free to ask your questions. But if you don't have any questions, it's not a big deal. I have a set of backup questions myself that I think will help drive discussion, and even if you didn't have a question at the moment, maybe the discussions that we'll have will bring more questions to your mind. So with that all that said, Dimitri, I'm sorry I had to interrupt you. Please make your comment.
I just wanted to have one comment that the progress is actually much better than it showed here, because I think this slide, this picture is slightly old, right?
Okay.
So 100% progress means that a project passed the release review. And we actually have submitted a release review for all projects. And as far as I know, most of them passed it. So
okay.
The picture, except the Glassfish. Glassfish is doing well, but initial IP check has not been finished yet, but it's in a good shape. So I expect that most of the projects are actually at 100% at the moment.
I see. Excellent. Thank you very much. That was a very important clarification. Okay, so without further ado, I'm going to now open up the floor for questions. Ignore this question that I have at the moment. This is, again, my placeholder questions. So I want to just take a moment and give you an opportunity to ask questions to the panel. Anybody have a question at this point? Yes, Edwin.
Okay, grateful seeing you here. I have a couple. The first one is, Jakarta EE promotes the future of cloud-native Java. Could you please describe this vision and concept in detail, or provide your personal interpretation?
Okay, Edwin, if you don't mind, I'd like to defer that a little bit. So I'll repeat the question. So Jakarta EE, one of its mission statements or technical directions, which we'll talk about, is that it's supposed to be cloud-native Java. That's the tagline. If you log on to jakarta.ee, that's what it says, the home of cloud-native Java. And that's an amorphous term. It can mean many different things to many different people. So I think there is a set of questions. There is a question around that as well. I think we'll get to answering that question. I'm just a little afraid that it's a bit too advanced. So okay. I just want to take some baby steps, and definitely will answer that question.
Okay, very well. Shall I take another one? Or?
Yes, please.
Okay, Jakarta EE will first launch with Glassfish 5.1, compliant on the Java EE 8 specifications. And after that, Jakarta will probably release newer versions of Glassfish. But is already defined what the first version of real Glassfish Jakarta will contain? Is it the new specification of JNoSQL?
Okay, so your question is, there's a potential standard for NoSQL out there, and that is not contained in Java EE at the moment. Mm-hmm. What could Jakarta EE do about that? Again, let me defer that question, because I think we'll answer it, and obviously we have the right person to answer that question for you, namely Otavio, and I'm sure he'll be happy to address that. Any other questions? Yes, Andy.
Hi, Reza. I've seen different profiles evolve from the EE process, and that's been done in order to remove kind of bloat. Is this move to Jakarta EE going to be involved in removing stuff that people are really not interested in the EE spectrum of APIs?
Excellent question. Let's cache that question as well. So the question is, how do we make sure to create a nimble platform? In the past, the answer to that question has been profiles. Do we continue to maintain profiles, or is there a different, better way of handling sort of keeping a lightweight modular platform? So I think that's a good question. Let me cache it for now as well. Any other questions? Okay, excellent. Let's move forward. So there is a reason why I'm caching these questions. I sort of want us to move in a progressive manner, just to give you an opportunity to get acclimated with what Jakarta EE actually is. And I think you have the right people to learn from to do that, but that doesn't mean the questions aren't important. In fact, they're so important that I already have them sort of in my cache already, but we will make sure to address those specific points. Okay, moving forward, let's start with the first question that I have for the panel, Why does Java EE matter to Java developers? Java developers have a lot of choices, right? We have Spring, we have microprofile, we have the Lightbend stack. Why should anybody care about this Jakarta EE stuff? What would be your answer to your average developer that might ask you that? So Dimitri, do you want to get started since you have the microphone?
Since I'm holding the mic, I suppose that it works with the way that who holds the mic answering the question, right? Why developers should choose Jakarta EE? Because this is basically the open spec. So you can be directly involved in specifications. And I think this is quite a big advantage. So it's different than you want some project to add something you want, you submit a PR, and this PR is waiting there for ages. So Jakarta EE is not designed like that. So if you participate in a spec project, your contribution will be reviewed, and at some point you may become a committer of a spec project. So it's, from my perspective, it's much easier to contribute, right? And it adds quite a lot. Other things here, the big point is contribution of TCKs, right? So TCKs were closed before, now TCKs are open, and everybody can actually go and see what the TCK tests are, how specs are tested, and so on. Maybe that's it. Someone else want to add?
You have a lot of reasons, as Demir say. The first one, that you can define the shape of the platform that you are using. So that's amazing. Opportunity to say, okay, I'd like this way, I don't like this way. So everything go through the email list, so you can participate, you can join us. Also, we avoid the vendor lock-in. So we have a standard to make it easier. Java EE is still sexy to the market, stability stuff, and also have a lot of companies working together to one move. So that's all. It's my perspective.
Okay. Yeah, I just add a quick few sentences. So it's for Java developers, and nowadays a lot of companies started doing microservices. So basically, the Java developers feel they still need like a standard, programming model for doing microservices. So Jakarta EE is repositioned to be cloud native, like a programming model to help Java developers use this programming model to develop microservices fast and also build the best breed of microservices.
My take on Jakarta EE is that since it's very open, there are many collaborative companies and individual contributors, and you can be part of them too. But the value is that there are many different points of view on the specifications, on the APIs, which makes them much better because they are proven from many different sides. While individual frameworks, they would hardly reach the same consensus and the same quality of the API because most of them are opinionated. They do what they expect their users would like to do, but they only focus on certain users, while Jakarta EE is open for everybody and listens to the needs of the community and also has a lot of experts from different areas.
I also deal with a lot of vendors that are large companies in regulated areas like banking and others, and they usually, to use a technology for their projects, they first need to verify it and get approval for it. And taking little bits and pieces from the open source world is of course also becoming more and more popular, but it's difficult for them to have 10 or 100 different approvals, while with the Jakarta EE stack, or also Java EE before it, it was usually, it's of a known stable quality, so they can basically just get the approval to use Java EE or Jakarta EE, and they don't have to pick individual pieces. They can still use parts of it, but for the approval process, they just need to know, okay, we use Java EE or we use Jakarta EE, and that's approved. and that makes it easier to use.
Excellent, thank you very much. So moving on to the next question. So for those of us who are not very intimately familiar with all of this Java EE stuff, I'll ask the question, don't worry, you don't have to look back. All this Java EE stuff, this looks like more of the same. So what is the actual difference between Java EE and the JCP and this new process? Could you point out just a few specific things that are really different between the JCP and this new process?
To me as developer, I hope, as you can see the specification, the focus is going to be more on the codes and less the process. And to me, a guy who loves code, stay in the process, read the license every single time, and then go again to the process, sometimes it's boring, right? Because you'd like to see the results. Also, this process is building on the agile methodology. So they're looking first the results, so MVP, the minimum value products, and then refocus on the process. So persons and then the process. And so I believe that's going to be faster to make something and also make some mistake and then roll back and then receive more feedback from the community. So that's, I believe, and I hope.
Yeah, I think I will highlight three bigger differences. First one, in the GCP previously and Java EE, you are not allowed to see the TCKs. Now the TCKs well in the open. So second one is in the GCP is a kind of spec lead led the project and make a lot of decisions. And in the Jakarta EE, basically the work group will work together to make a decision. The third one is kind of more open up, so you can free to join this project and then file the issue and or even contribute PRs. So which is different in the GCP. In the GCP, you have to ask to join in the expert group and then go through a different process to get involved.
So basically, the new specification process is very tightly related with existing Eclipse development process. So basically, based on that. So if you're familiar with Eclipse development process, it won't be any problem for you to participate in the new specifications. The main point of Eclipse development process is project owners are really can do whatever with the project. They are owning it, right? So we are deciding about the roadmap, we are deciding about the timelines, we are deciding about features. So this is how it works at the Eclipse Foundation. So let's say this is a full democracy. And from my perspective, it's very good. Another thing to mention here is, according to the new specification process, there is no reference implementation required, right? So now it's called the spec implementation, and the requirement that is it should be open sourced under the permissive license, and it's not necessary that it's a part of Eclipse Foundation. So we are adding here like more freedom to choose of the implementation. I think that's it.
Yeah, I've also been in several expert groups, including the umbrella for Java EE in the past, and even the expert group members were often not allowed to see the TCK, because I was also with my other hat in the executive committee. That was the only reason why I was able and allowed to see the TCK. And now there's definitely a lot more transparency that not only as a member of the expert group, but as everyone who wants to see the TCK, you're able to see the TCK, and of course that gives a much bigger reach, also including the quality of the TCK itself, because if more people can see it, they can also spot flaws or recommend improvements.
I would like to underline one thing as a result of all what was said, that the speed of development, the speed of bringing features can be much faster than it used to be in the JCP. Because with TCKs, the test kits closed until the specification was released, and the reference implementation also was released with the specification. Everybody who wanted to implement these features needed to wait until everything was prepared and ready. And now the test suite is going to be built together with the specification and in the open. So everybody can work on their implementation in parallel. And as Dmitry said, there will be no reference implementation, but this process makes it possible to have 2 or even 3 or more implementations ready by the time the specification is final. So the features can arrive much faster than before.
Okay, next question I'm going to skip over because I don't think it's that important. This is an important question, and I think many of you may be waiting for this one. So here's what I would like to do. There's a number of different ways in technical directions that Jakarta EE could go, right? So some of the taglines are things like cloud native Java and all of the buzzwords that everybody here knows about. We also have 2 different questions from the audience, namely NoSQL standardization, as well as how do you keep a nimble modular platform. So I'd like you to think about that for a second. What I want is for each of you to give me one bit of technical direction that you would like to see Jakarta EE go, vis-a-vis what we've already, especially vis-a-vis what we've already had in Java EE. So potentially something different and new and exciting for the audience. So please, if you will.
Yeah, so since Jakarta EE is no longer as strictly bound to a particular Java SE version as Java EE used to be, it's definitely one of the things that I hope to see is a better modularity of individual specs so that it's also easier either to define profiles or to add additional modules that suit your needs together with the parts of the standard so they work together well. So modularity and making use of the right Java version, whatever that may be, Java 13 or 20, but the specs are usually not bound to a particular Java version. At most, they may have a minimal version like Java 9 or 10.
So I think it's, as I mentioned earlier, I think the main technical direction is cloud native. So which means that Jakarta EE release need to be faster than Java EE. And also, I think I would love to see Jakarta EE can focus on the reactive a little bit more. So hopefully that can get from micro profile. And also is, asynchronous as well.
What I personally hope to see in Jakarta is the focus on modularity. That's one of the big deals and like big area which can be exported and benefited from is to define how the individual specifications work together, because now it was like an afterthought, more or less. And I think there's a space to improve, to define interactions between the specifications, and in turn make it easier to create smaller profiles, smaller subsets of specifications that work easily with each other. And I think it will result in, for one, in various different platforms, small, faster platforms, bigger platforms with different feature sets. But it would also allow for replacement of things much easier. If you have one application server, but you don't like that particular JPA implementation, it would be easier to switch without too many issues.
Okay, I think more about big data approach tools, such as integration with Hadoop, NoSQL database that we're going to talk about later, and also reactive programs. So I think that's a way. Everybody talks about big data, and you don't have a nice standardize to make it happen in Jakarta right now.
Yeah, so I'm the last one. So possibly all the directions already listed. But what I would like to say is, first of all, we have official directions from E4J PMC, and there is a document where all directions are listed. You can find it on their E4J website. So maybe it would be nice to send a link to this document after their panel. Maybe I'll tweet about this. All these innovations are already defined, so the way PMC sees how Jakarta should go is defined, right? So important things from there are, we would like to embrace innovations without breaking the backwards compatibility. So we are embracing microprofile, we are embracing all new technologies. Guys was talking about that, but we don't want to lose the backwards compatibility. Something needs to be deprecated, possibly, and if it needs to be deprecated, removed needs to be deprecated first and removed in the next release, so something like that. Modularity. I think everybody talked about modularity here. Yes, this is another important part, and it's a part of the technical directions. Another thing there is release cadence. So if I remember well, in the document, we were recommending releasing every quarter, so basically 4 times a year. It means 1 major release and 3 kind of minor releases. And it actually fits well with Eclipse development process. I'm not sure that it's listed there, actually. I think so. Right?
Okay, the next questions, I want to speed things up a little bit. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to skip over some of the questions I had, and I would like you to pick just one individual to answer the subsequent questions, if you will, if you don't mind. That will allow us to move ahead and hopefully answer some more questions. What is the current status? Dimitri, if you don't mind, I'm going to pick on you on this one. Could you summarize where we are at the moment?
Yeah, sure. So it took us almost a year, actually more than a year, to transfer all current projects needed for Glassfish build to Eclipse Foundation. So the main point is needed for Glassfish build because there are some more projects like documentation, websites, samples needs to be donated, and we will do it after the Glassfish release. The main point, everything needed for Glassfish release is donated, and we actually already released to the staging repository new updated versions of APIs, and the new APIs now have different Maven coordinates to distinguish from the older versions. We introduced Jakarta.wherever Maven coordinates. Important point, just Maven coordinates, not package names, right? So if it was JavaX something, let's say JavaX XML bind, right? Now it's going to be Jakarta XML bind, right? So it's released to staging. We are in process of modifying implementations now, and most of them are modified and released to staging already. And we are working hard on produce the final version of Glassfish. If you remember, we introduced the first milestone build of Glassfish, built actually from Eclipse sources, and we did it before Oracle Code 1, before Eclipse Con Europe. Now we are working hard to deliver the final version of Glassfish. Their deadline we set a deadline to December 14th. So now working hard to reach it. And all the progress is open. So if you go to our GitHub, github.com/eclipse-e4j. There is a project, GitHub project boards. We use project boards to track our progress. It's publicly visible. You can go there and see how it goes.
Okay, what are the key players actually committed to doing? Emily, if you don't mind answering this question, please. So I would like you to maybe take an IBM perspective first, and I would also like you to cover players like Payara, if you don't mind, Ondra, answering that question. And Otavio, I would like to get your perspective on what Tommy Tribe is actually committed to, and if somebody, Emily, if you want to speak to Red Hat as well, that would be good.
Okay, I speak for IBM. So IBM is kind of a strong supporter behind Jakarta EE and microprofile. So IBM really wants Jakarta EE to be successful, and we put forward a lot of effort and the biggest support towards this community. And for the spec, we are engaged, like we've been part of it. And then we get developers and trying to help out on the API and also spec and TCK and etc. For the spec, we currently own like a JBatch and etc. We're also trying to work towards how to get a TCK or API out. I mean, this is all on the agenda and help like the Eclipse Foundation and also the Jakarta EU worker group and to make a faster progress.
Okay, Andre, you want to give the Pyara perspective? What's Pyara actually committed to doing?
So, as I said, we definitely plan to contribute to Glassfish as an open source project since Pyara is derived from it. But we also have already, I think, some spec leads. I think it's concurrency, JSF, security, and probably some more areas that we are exploring, like messaging and some others.
Okay, from Tom Tribe perspective, Tom Tribe is a JCPC member, so he is still helping the Java SE specification, Java 11, Java 12, and also is looking for the more transparency from Jakarta Java EE perspective. Tom Tribe believes strongly on this way. That's why he has a lot of people working in specification, in GSI, and also looking for Jakarta EE process that he's a strategic member. So we're looking for review specification, define people to work on some new specification and the specification that those already exist.
Okay, Dimitri, would you like to comment on Oracle?
Comet Tribe also leads the GMS specification, by the way.
Would you like just add another thing is like IBM has Open Liberty, which is open source application server, also WebSphere Liberty. We are looking forward to the spec compliance with the Jakarta EE specifications.
Yeah, just add a little bit for Tommy Tribe. Tommy Tribe contributing a lot in marketing efforts, which is great for Jakarta EE as well. So from Oracle perspective, we are doing all the hard work of transferring everything to Eclipse Foundation. So I actually wrote a blog article about that. It sounds easy, like changing the owner of GitHub repository, but there are lots of work to do and there are some processes to follow. So I don't think that it's really easy to transfer stuff to the open source foundation. So we are at Oracle, we're working on it for a year. Right? So it includes basically reviewing the legal, reviewing the corporate architect to make sure that all the projects are up to date, we don't have security vulnerabilities, that all third parties are clear, and so on. So if something is wrong there, we needed to make changes to make it good. So the same process is as Eclipse. So Eclipse needs to check all the sources, everything, so it's legally correct and it's technically correct. And in total, the contribution is 13.5 million lines of code. So it's a really huge contribution. So, you know, it's comparable to okay, I don't know what is comparable to, because I have it in my slides, yeah. Right? I remember that TCK contribution or Java EE contribution is comparable to World of Warcraft server-side code base. So if you're playing World of Warcraft, you know that can imagine that this is basically a huge code base, right? So 13.5 lines of code, 13.5 million lines of code, everything needs to be checked, everything needs to be fine, right? So you imagine how much work we've done. And we will continue doing that. Oracle is working hard on delivering Glassfish 5.1 together with IBM, together with Payara, together with Tommy Tribe, together with others. So that's what we're doing.
Okay, we're quickly running out of time. I'm going to ask one, I'm going to skip over the rest of my questions, and I'm going to ask you one last question before I try to open it up to the floor. Okay, I would like you to think about this a little bit and give me one answer. So here's the question. How can developers, so the people that are sitting in the audience at the moment, or their friends or colleagues, what can they do to make a difference with Jakarta EE? Just brief statement from each of you, please.
Contribute.
Oh, you take the easier one, right? Yeah. Write a blog about it. Give feedback.
Actually, raise issues and talk to us. We can have some ideas and evaluate what's there, and let us know what's missing there. So we don't even have to do the work. There's a lot of people who could do the work, but they may be missing some things. So they need your help and feedback.
Get involved. Basically, sign up to the mailing list if you have not. So keep on progress. Look at what's being in progress, and also ask questions.
Yeah, also get involved. And I'm currently the committee representative, and we had only a few candidates for certain committees. And of course, those of you who already are committers or looking forward to become committers in the near future, we would definitely love to see a few more candidates than Eva or myself for the next committee representative.
Excellent. There is not a lot of time left. I do plan on finishing this panel on time. But with all of that, I would like to open the floor for discussion. Anything, I hope by now you've come up with some questions that maybe you didn't have before. So I'd like to give you an opportunity to answer those, to ask those questions, and the panel to answer it. But let me tell you one thing. I'm going to show the resources slide after this, telling you how exactly you can get involved. I'll leave that up while you're doing the open floor Q&A. I'll also make the slides available. The other thing I will mention to you is now you know who they are, who to talk to, right? At the conference, if you want to talk about Microprofile or Jakarta EE, please start a conversation with these folks. Don't just stop in the next 3 minutes. Okay, very good. I'm going to open up the floor now, so please raise your hand if you have questions, concerns, comments, whatever is on your mind. Okay.
Yeah, hi. Sorry to hold the floor again. I think throughout the whole discussion, we've been talking about the TCK, and we kind of missed the significance of what the TCK is to the EE profiles. Being a committer on the Apache Tommy project, having access to a TCK was like 30,000 integration and unit tests and end-to-end tests that we had to pass to get certified. So I'd just like to ask how significant the TCKs are to the implementations that are on the floor.
Okay, I'd like one person to answer that, please. Otavio, do you mind answering that? Significance of TCK.
Okay, basically the TCK, of course, for me is the quality. It's like a jar that has a lot of tests that make sure that's going to work this way. So our software platform has tests. So TCK is the test to the specification. So it's huge valuable to Jakarta, to Java world as well. So as you can see, I mean, not just in Jakarta, in the Java world, you see new JVM implementations, and that's happened because you have the TCK that say, okay, you pass that, and you can say your Java implementation.
Okay, anything else? Half a minute to go. Yes, sir. He promised me he was going to ask hard questions, so we shall see what he asks.
Yeah, my question is about microprofile and how is that related and how it's going to work together with Jakarta, especially the specs that are duplicated, like config.
Yeah, microprofile and Jakarta EE, they will complementary to each other. As you can see, microprofile take full Java EE or now it's Jakarta EE specifications, CDI, JSONP, JAX-RS, and JSONB. And also at the same time, microprofile evolving and add a few more specifications. However, Jakarta EE, these specifications can be consumed by the end user when they use the Jakarta EE and together with microprofile. However, these two should not compete with each other. The reason I'm saying I'm quite confidently is because the same community is behind the two behind both microprofile and Jakarta EE. We'll try our best to make sure they still build an ecosystem, not complementary, not compatible with each other. They are still complementary to each other.
Excellent. We are now out of time. First of all, I'd like to thank the panel. Can we please have a round of applause for them? These are people with a lot of responsibilities on their shoulders. Please, can we show a little bit of appreciation? Okay, thank you very much for your time. We'd like to stop in the moment, and like I said, hopefully this is the first step for you to get involved with Jakarta EE, and certainly all of us are very excited to see what will happen in the next few years. So.